Okay, so today we're talking about piecework, and we're going to talk about practical questions and answers. And I have Jonathan Coleman. He's the general manager for Clip Lawn Care. He's one of the presenters with me. This is Dave Tucker Sr., and we're going to be talking about just the general practical type of questions and answers that we have for piecework. Jonathan, you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here.
All right. Now, piecework questions and answers. So that basically, let's establish ourselves just quickly here. What's the definition of piecework? The definition of piecework is that you're paying by the job. Every one of your jobs has a rating of some sort, and you pay by the job. The automotive industry uses this a lot. So if you go to change your water pump, they look in the Big Chilton's manual, and it'll tell them that this would normally be a 1.5 hour job or a 3 hour job or something like that, and then the mechanic gets paid by that. And if any of you have taken your cars in for repair, that's how they charge you by labor. They charge you labor hours. So it doesn't really matter how long it takes the mechanic to change that water pump. And of course, if something horrible happens, like he breaks off a bolt and it stays in the engine block, it might take him all day, and yet he'll still only get paid for 3 hours of work, because that's what the manual says he's supposed to get paid for. If he's really good at it and he can do it in a half hour, then he'll get 3 hours of pay in a half hour. It's the exact same thing when we're talking about piecework in the lawn maintenance industry. Every job is rated as so many minutes, and as you get these minutes done, that's what you get paid based on it. So an employee gets paid when he completes a job that pays the company. This is key, because these principles of an employee gets paid when you get paid as a company eliminate all of the questions about, well, what about setup time? Well, are you getting paid for setup time? No. So the answer is no, you don't pay your employee for setup time. What about travel time? Are you getting paid for travel time? No, not really. So you don't pay the employee for travel time. All right, how about breakdowns? Do you pay the employee for breakdowns? And are you getting paid for breakdowns? No. Then you don't pay the employee for breakdowns either. So that is the philosophical principle that's behind this. There might be some exceptions to that, but not a lot. What would be the exceptions, Jonathan, that you would go ahead and pay somebody straight time even though we're not getting paid as a company?
A few exceptions are, you need to take into consideration that just as your company has overhead, your employees are going to have some overhead as well. And so, for example, I budget shop time in the morning for the guys because that's part of the cost of doing business for us. And so I don't feel like it's fair to not pay the guys for that. But I do budget for that in our overall dollars per hour that we're charging the customers. So, for example, for our two-man crews, they receive half an hour total time for shop time in the morning. And that includes sharpening blades, loading up equipment, etc. And so if there's two guys on the crew, they each get 15 minutes for shop time. So that's one exception to the rule. Some companies do that, some don't. We've chosen to do that. We chalk it up as a piece of overhead. Another couple of exceptions that I would give if there's some dramatic equipment failure that wasn't the fault of the employees at all, I take it on a case-by-case basis in that situation. If they call and say, this broke, I think it was the mechanic's fault or whatever, I'll take that on a case-by-case basis, but that really needs to be a very clear exception and not the rule, because it can be abused if it's not. And so that will happen maybe to each crew 2 to 3 times per season, but no more than that.
You can always pay your guys more. That's not a question. But so if there are particular circumstances that you realize, hey, this is not your fault, you're a good employee, I'm going to pay you some money here, you can always do that. That never hurts. But the question really is, what is the expectation? What is the expectation that you've set?
So, and putting the responsibility on the employees. So in a traditional hourly system, the employees don't feel that responsibility for the equipment breaking down because they're going to get paid no matter what. But in a piecework system, the expectation is I'm getting paid when the company is getting paid. And so as an owner, they start thinking that way, like this is my route, this is my equipment, and I need to take care of it. And so if there's a suspected problem, they're going to deal with it ahead of time before heading out during the day.
So they're kind of making their own company inside of your company.
Exactly.
And that's really neat because you get some more responsible people, and they take, which goes on to our next thing is what will Piecework do? And these are some of the things that I've thought of that Piecework has done for us, and Jonathan might have more or whatever. But one is reduce management. You want to speak to that, Jonathan?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is maybe the most. I mean, increasing productivity is pretty dramatic, but the reducing of the management efforts and headaches is very, very significant. I mean, oftentimes during the week, I don't even have to come into the shop in the morning to get the guys going. Like, because they're responsible for their route, I've been able to just email them route sheets, them print it out, and get going for the day. They know exactly how much they're going to be paid for the day. And so they just go and do it. And so there's really so much less management. Okay, another thing is, this kind of ties in with the increased productivity, is that I don't need to be hounding the guys about getting the work done for the day. In a lot of traditional hourly-based systems, you're going to have to be checking up on the guys, saying, oh, how's the day going? Oh, you really need to push through to get this job done. That's almost eliminated with Piecework because the guys are getting paid for the work that they're producing, not by the hour. And so you don't have to do as many check-ins and hounding them about getting the work done in an efficient manner because they're motivated to do that.
How about the whole babysitting thing about how many breaks are they taking, where are they stopping, are they using the best route?
Yeah. One of the most common questions we get is, oh, do you guys do GPS tracking, right? I'm sure a lot of you have thought of that. And for us, with the Piecework system, that's not a concern for us. If my guys want to sit at 7-Eleven for half an hour in the morning, really, I don't care because they're not getting paid for the time that they're there. They're going to be responsible for their time, so if they want to take time off, that doesn't bother me. They can take their time on the job if they're not feeling well. Like, that's not something that I have to be concerned about.
Or they can stop at the bank to cash their check, or they've always got little things that they want to do. We don't really care if they mix up some personal stuff along with the business stuff because, again, it doesn't matter to us, right?
Yep, correct.
Okay, so what about increased productivity? What do you think happens there, Jonathan? What have we seen?
Well, fortunately, from the beginning with Clip Lawn Care, we have been Piecework the entire time, and so we haven't seen the dramatic change over, but we have worked with a lot of other companies who will see typical results with straight hourly pay are in the 60% efficiency range. That means that it takes them 10 hours of total time to complete 6 hours of budgeted work. And when switching over to Piecework, within a couple of months, maybe even sooner, you'll get that up to 100% and even greater. So for Clip Lawn Care, average, our employees are doing probably 110, 115%. Sometimes of the year, it's all the way up to 150, 160% efficiency.
And what does that do for us as a company when we have like we have 3 crews right out there? And when you have those 3 crews and each one of them is producing about 120% instead of 60%, what does that do as far as our equipment costs, our just our management, our trying to run a company?
Yeah, it reduces all the costs and headache across the board because if you think about it, if you have 4 guys working at 125% efficiency, that 25% on each of those extra 4 guys is equal to an entire other worker. And so if you think about that, that reduces the amount of management. It reduces the amount of clothing, supplies, equipment, all that stuff that you would have to pay for that other employee. So it not only increases the efficiency on the job, but it reduces your overall overhead because you don't have to have as many employees to get the same amount of work done.
And it kind of goes back to that whole thing. We hear this quite often from business owners. They remember you all that started your own lawn maintenance company. You were out there, you're cutting lawns, and you're doing X number of lawns per day, and you say, okay, I'm going to hire somebody, and I'm going to be able to do double this. And you hire somebody, and all of a sudden your productivity just drops, and you sit there and you look at these people and you say, I don't get it. I used to be able to do this in X number of minutes, and you're taking an hour and a half for it. What is up with this? And what does the employee tell you? Well, I'm doing the best that I can, and he's got all these reasons why he can't go much faster than that. And this, when we come to this increase in productivity when you're on Piecework, and I know this because I because the guys, they're from Mexico. I speak Spanish, so I have them at my house, and I talk to them, and I ask them how things are going and everything else. They're the ones that are pushing. It's not us. They're the ones that are pushing for all this productivity, and they are getting hugely productive, and they're making a lot of money too.
Yeah, just an illustration of when we kind of are in the early days of when I was with this company. I remember, but it was before we had implemented GPS systems in every truck, that in the evenings during the spring, the new employees would be taking the ADC map books and studying them. They would be looking at their route for the following day, figuring out what was the most efficient route for them to go. And I mean, do you get that kind of effort when you're paying straight hourly pay? And I would say never. You're never going to get that.
You wouldn't even get that if you paid them to study the map.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, that's just one example of the dramatic change that takes place.
What can you speak to the increase in equipment care?
Clarify what you mean by that.
Well, I mean, they take care of their equipment. They're not abusing it as much as other people.
Right. Yeah, it goes back to what I said a little bit ago, is that if there's a suspected problem, they're going to deal with it ahead of time, and because they don't want downtime. If they have equipment breakdown, they're not going to be able to get paid as much because they're not getting as much work done. So maintenance and repairs, there's a lot more motivation on the team members' part to make sure that those are done, because if it doesn't, there's a negative consequence. Self-imposed. We don't have to impose any negative consequence. It's a self-imposed consequence that they're not going to be able to get as much work done.
Right. So we look at the equipment as business owners. We look at the equipment as being tools to profit, tools to productivity. And the employee that's on Piecework looks at it in the very same way, which is the whole point of this Piecework, is that you get your employees to think like you do. But the hourly employee, it's hard for us to fathom this, but during the summer, it could be 100 degrees out there and humid, and it's just a really miserable day to be outside cutting grass. And he thinks, if this lawnmower breaks down, guess what I get to do? I get to go back, sit in my air-conditioned truck, and drive all the way back to the shop to get it fixed. Do you think that there isn't a temptation on his part to allow something to go ahead and break, to not report that this belt looks frayed, to not report that there might be a problem with this or that or the next thing? The starter wasn't working too well yesterday. I think this battery's going bad. There's a strong motivation for this employee to go ahead and not report that, so that he can drive back and get paid for 2 hours of drive time. Mm-hmm. And whereas if they're on Piecework, they want those mowers to work right. They want the trimmers to work right. In fact, one of the biggest complaints we get are that they want to have a toolbox, that they want to have spare parts, that they want to have stuff out there for them to do. So they're trying to pull stuff away from us, jobs that normally would belong to the company. They're trying to take them on themselves.
Yeah. A lot of great questions coming in as we're going along. A lot of your questions will be kind of related to following points in the webinar. One that I wanted to touch on right now is what is the average dollar amount your crews cut per day? Just off the top of my head, not pulling any reports or anything, but I do record the work every day, and so I see this. And I'll do it by employee, because crew size varies, obviously, between companies. But we're at we charge about $40 an hour for mowing. That's our rate. And then our crews will cut usually somewhere between $375 and $450 dollars worth of work in a day.
Per guy per day.
Per guy, yeah, per guy per day. So a two-man crew is bringing in $800 or $900 a day.
Yep.
So that's the answer to that question.
Are your I guess we talk about this later. We'll get to it later. But anyway, a decrease in lost time. Lost time can be lost all kinds of different ways. You can lose it just in not getting out of the truck on time, fast enough when you arrive at a property, to driving the wrong way, to getting lost, to I don't know. There's a thousand of getting into traffic, all these other things. Again, by using Piecework, you're making them think like you do, and you're getting them to hate lost time, because
If I can touch on that for a moment, Dave,
Hmm.
some of you may not know, like I haven't always been a manager. I started out in this company cutting grass just like all the other guys. And piecework was new to me when I joined the company. I hadn't experienced it before, but I loved it. I mean, right away, it was what I wanted to do. And so one of the examples of what it changed in me was that, for example, when we were driving up to a property, on the way there, what we would be doing with my partner in the truck is talking about who's going to do what at the next property. I'm going to go around the outside, you go to the back, you handle the trimming, and as you're finishing trimming, I'm going to blow. That kind of thing, where if you're straight hourly time, what are you going to do? Probably just when you get to the property, you're going to start talking about that or not even talk about it at all. And so that's another example of just the lost time that your employees are going to be motivated to plan and discuss how to do this job most efficiently so that there isn't any time lost.
Yep. Use that brain power that's out there. Use the brain power. So, how does this work? Do you want to explain? I mean, we've got some things in there we talked about right before this presentation, Jonathan. You take it over in this slide here.
Yeah. So, okay, sure. Do you want to go ahead and change to my screen there, Dave, and I can show some stuff?
Oh, sure.
Here?
Sure.
All right. I want to shoot a lot of the question when people start doing this is how do I implement this in Clip? So is everybody seeing Clip on their screen?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Great. All right, very good. All right, so there's a few different things that you need to have set up in order for Piecework to work effectively. And the first and kind of primary measurement and tool in implementing Piecework is your budgeted man hours. So if we go into our classic example customer, Jenny Tang, and we're going to go into jobs as soon as it pulls up. All right, so under job detail here, most of you are probably familiar with this, but if you're not, the man-hour rating right here. This is what the key factor for efficiency. It's the key factor for how much your guys are going to be paid. And this is our recommended way of doing it. There's other people that talk about paying by credit or percentage of job. This is the most easy and streamlined way as far as integrating Piecework pay system into Clip, is paying based on the man-hour rating. So how do we get our man-hour rating? Man-hour rating is the percentage of time compared against the charge of the job. So, for example, we charge $40 an hour. So in order to get our man-hour rating, we divide 28 into 40. So if you hit this Calc 2 button, Clip will do the math for you. So if we have $40 an hour, and then we hit the equal sign right here, it's 0.7. So that's 0.7 hours. So just under 45 minutes for this job. I hit replace in job, and so this needs to be set up for every single job that your guys are doing. And this will show up on the route sheet so the guys can see exactly how much time they have for this property. Another thing to keep in mind with this man-hour rating is that travel time should be included in this man-hour rating. So they have 0.7 hours to get there and do the job. Why is that, you might ask? It's because you want to get paid for travel time, right? This $28 needs to include all costs, including getting there. So that, I mean, that's kind of a common question, but this, you need to communicate that to your crews as you're switching to Piecework system, is that this includes travel time. Okay, so that's man-hour rating. Someone asked a question, what if I charge $100 for that cutting, but it only takes 15 minutes to cut?
Good.
Yeah.
Find more of them.
And I guess the question there is, are you going to pay your guys all of that time? So if we give this example, if we take $100 here and divide it by 40, you're going to say that's a 2.5 hour job. Okay, as you see, average time here is only 0.42. Are you going to pay your guys that 2.5? I'm not going to tell you what to do as an owner, but if your guys, I mean, if you respect your guys and you want them to continue liking to work for you, I suggest you go ahead and pay them that. Because the philosophy, right, is they make money when you make money. You're making a killing on that property, and so they should be too. That's how I look at it, and that's how we do it within our company. Some companies might adjust the man hours if there's something like that, but I would go ahead and reward the guys just to keep them happy and reward them for all their hard work.
Well,
There's
what
going
are
to be
they
other
going to do?
jobs
I mean,
that they're
Jonathan,
not making as much on.
what are they going to do with this job if they're really able to do it? 15 minutes might be too much, but if they're, let's say they're able to do it in a half hour and they're getting paid 2.5 hours for it, how are they going to treat this customer?
Oh, they're going to treat this customer really well because, I mean, they're probably going to take a little bit of extra time to make sure that it looks amazing because they know this is maybe their most valuable job because they're making the most money on it. It's just like you would maybe send a thank you card and a gift at the end of the season to these customers that you're making so much money on. You want to treat them well, make sure they're happy, and your employees are going to be thinking the same exact way.
So again, you guys are in this thing together. That's the difference. Is it takes it from an antagonistic type situation where you're trying to crack the whip and make them work faster, and they're trying to get away with not doing it, into a partnership where they want to do exactly the same thing that you would want to do, and that's why your management goes down so much.
Yeah. And so kind of on the flip side of this, Dennis asks, I know you shouldn't have a bad estimate, but what if you do? What if you've underbid a job? Well, one of the things that Piecework is going to help you with in that is you're going to know very quickly that you messed up on that estimate because your crew is going to come and tell you this job doesn't have enough time associated with it. And what I do in that situation is I say, okay, let's monitor it over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Come back to me if you're still not able to hit these times, and then we'll send a price increase letter to the customer. Because if you're not hitting the times on it, the customer is not being charged enough. And we include a clause in our contracts that allows change of price with 30 days notice. So, I mean, that's if there's a dramatic difference. The other thing is that you're going to have some jobs like this where the guys are making a ton of money and some jobs where they might not be making as much. So they do kind of help offset each other. But the ultimate solution is to go ahead and increase that price as necessary. Hope that answers that question. All right, so that's man-hour rating. So that needs to be set up in all your jobs, and I believe there's a global way to do this if you haven't done it already. And I'll show you that just real quick. All right, so it's going to be under Files. Global replacement, adjust budgeted man hours. Global replacement, adjust budgeted man hours. And this is also where you're going to come, someone else is doing something in Clip, so I'm not able to do it right now. But that would allow you to put in your dollar per hour, $40, for example, and choose which jobs you want to change it for, and then do a global update so that it'll fill in all those budgeted man hours automatically. All right. Okay, here's another question. I'll go back into file maintenance here. The question is, what if you charge $200 for seating and you have $100 in material? How do you figure the man-hour rating when you have material? And thankfully, the awesome program that you have will calculate that for you. So let's go ahead back into jobs here. And okay, so here's aeration and overseating. As you'll see, charge per job is $88.24. Materials, subs cost, so this is our seed cost, and plus a little bit for the rental of the aerator, $48.12. When I go into Calc 2 here, you see this little parenthesis here, charge per job minus material costs. So it's taking that $88.24 minus the material cost, $48.12, and it's giving me, this is my labor charge for this job. Divides it into 40, and I get an hour budgeted time. So it does calculate that automatically for you if you have your material costs filled out here.
So if you put the right information into Clip, it'll actually give you the right answer. Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Another question related to this is, does the crew leader see what each account is rated, or can you disguise the entire day as a whole number? I don't know necessarily why you would want to disguise it as a whole number. I guess it's possible to do that, customizing the route sheet to delete that out of there. But I think it's fair to the employees to show them what each job has. It's much more motivating. I mean, I found it when I was out there working was that I loved just kind of trying to beat the times on every job. I would see exactly how many minutes we had, and every time we get back in the truck, I would be looking forward to seeing the time so that I could see how quickly we did it. So,
besides the fact that we're back to this whole thing about it's a philosophy. You're talking about becoming a partner with your employees and getting them to think like you do. So don't hide stuff from them. If anything, give them more information. Give them as much information as possible. This all leads into the whole E-Myth where I can sit back. I don't run the Cliff Lawn Care company, even though I'm the majority owner. I don't have to do any of this because everybody is getting a piece of the action as it goes up. And so I can trust them that Jonathan and including all the employees are all making the best decision as they go. And I want them to have more and more and more information.
Okay, I just want to show you real quick an example of a route sheet just so you can see where this shows up on the route sheet. And this is a route sheet I've customized a little bit. It's based off of the enhanced route sheet, and I'll show you the main reason that I like that. The enhanced route sheet, let's see if I can get a job that has time associated with it. Okay, yeah, so here's a job that has time associated with it. And you'll see the enhanced route sheet, what it does is it gives you the total budgeted time in actual hours and minutes rather than just like the 8.3. And then it also splits it up based on how many men are on the crew. So if there's 2 men on this job, it's going to take 4 hours and 8 minutes. And so that's really nice for the crew to be able to see this is exactly how much time we have to do this job. Okay, so that's route sheets. That's where it shows up. Oh, let's show you the total man hours as well real quick. Okay, so on the top of the route sheet on the first page, you're going to see up here 8.26 total man hours. And so that's where they can get a kind of idea of how much work they have for the day. And that's kind of the first thing that my guys look at when they see the route sheets, and if there's not enough hours on there, they ask me, hey, where's more work?
Because that's what they're going to get paid today.
Exactly.
Right?
That's exactly what they're going to get paid as long as they get it all done.
Right.
Okay, yeah, someone just asking how did I get that on the route sheet with the broken out for each crew. It's actually the, if you go under route sheet layout, it's the enhanced route sheet right here. And then you can customize it to add other information on there if you needed to. Okay? Anthony says the Spanish instructions are horrible. Yeah, we use the Google Translator, so sometimes those don't work so great. All right, so additional setups in Clip. Now, how are you gonna report the efficiency, and how are you gonna pay your guys? And that's where the efficiency report comes in. So under reports, employee efficiency report, and I prefer the report hours only report. So I'm just gonna click on this, and this is what you're gonna be using basically as your payroll report if you switch to Piecework. So let's go ahead. Let's go back to October. So we got a good example of a time period, 10/3. We'll do a 2-week period to the 15th, so this would be a normal payroll period, for example. I'll just keep my crew range as all. Hit output to screen. All right, and so this is the employee efficiency report. Your main column that you're going to want to pay attention to is your budgeted versus paid. This is comparing the budgeted man hours versus their total clock time. And anytime this is over 100%, it's good. Anytime it's under 100%, it's not so good. So this week's a little kind of weird. I think we had some hourly jobs within here, and so the efficiencies aren't great on some of them. But as you'll see on some of these, we're at 122%, 122, 93, and as I click through, you'll kind of see it for all the employees. And then you'll get a total at the bottom. So overall for Francisco Cisneros right here, his budgeted man hours over this 2-week period is 101.57. That's just the total of what I showed you on the top of that route sheet, everything that he completed within these 2 weeks. His actual man hours, this is time spent on the property, not including travel time, shop time, anything like that. And then paid hours is all of his clock time combined. So he worked just over 40 hours a week approximately. And over the course of a 2-week period, his efficiency was 121.39. That's pretty good. So he worked 84 hours and got paid for 102. That looks pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So and that's normal performance.
Do you feel bad about that, Jonathan, that you had to pay him 101 hours when he only worked 83?
No, not at all. I mean, because he's every one of those 101.57 hours, I'm getting paid.
Yeah, you're getting paid $40 for each one of those hours if we've done our estimates correctly. Yeah, well, you kind of know it already. You know that you're getting that, and so that so basically we know that we got 101 times 4, so we got times 40. So we got $4,000 out of that, and we're paying him 83 times whatever his rate is. So yeah,
Hmm.
let's do it all day long. Let's
Yeah.
do it 5 more times. You know.
Yeah. And so for payroll purposes, this number is what he gets paid. So it's the 101.57 times whatever his hourly rate is, like how we set it up for piecework. All right. And then again, like I'll just show you an example. We talked about exceptions. I put a comment here for this day, add 3 hours for sod pickup debacle. And we just had a situation where I was the one to make a mistake, not the employees. They ended up loading too much sod on the truck and couldn't move the truck, and it was all my fault. So they ended up sitting by the side of the road for 3 hours, and so I decided to help them out in that situation and chalk it up to my mistake and overhead, and lose profit in that situation. But okay,
Yeah.
so that's the efficiency report, and it becomes your payroll report for piecework. Okay.
All right. Then we had a question on our PowerPoint presentation. Our labor costs after the efficiency, labor costs are fixed, and how do you do different pay for different employees?
Repeat the first part of that question. One more
Labor
time, Dave.
costs are fixed. My point is that at the beginning of the year, Jonathan, you already know how much you're going to spend on labor. It's
exactly.
not a variable. So talk about how that changes the way you do business.
Yeah, I mean, it's very nice to be able to know exactly how much you're going to spend on labor. It's very easy, much easier to budget and predict what's going to happen in the coming year. So if I know that I have 5 guys at 50 budgeted hours a week that they're going to produce, and I know that they're going to be at 100% efficiency. Okay, they're not going to maybe actually be at 100% efficiency, but that's what I'm paying them for. It's as if they were always 100% of the time at 100% efficiency. Wouldn't that be nice in your budgeting calculations for the following year if you knew that all of your employees were going to be at 100% efficiency? Unfortunately, that's not the case. If you're paying straight hourly time, you're going to have to budget at maybe 60% efficiency or 70%, and you're just going to have to kind of go on previous years. You don't know what's going to happen this year with the employees that you currently have. And so that's a huge benefit as far as predicting and budgeting. You know exactly how much you need to charge your customers. You know exactly how much you need to make to cover overhead, etc.
Why don't you tell us about what happened in September that has to do with this?
Yeah, September, we just had a monsoon here in Maryland, and I guess along the East Coast in general. We lost probably 2 weeks completely of work, and it was a tough month for us. But I'm trying to see what you're getting at, Dave.
Oh, what I'm getting at is, okay, we've had probably one of the worst Septembers almost ever, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so our income was way, way down in September. But because our labor costs are fixed, the guys didn't make very much money either. So
Right.
consequently, that kept us from having to be in a situation where we wouldn't have been able to get any work done, and yet we'd be paying
had
the
to pay
guys
out.
100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And then I mean, even in like the period where we could work, the work took a lot longer because the grass had been growing for a couple of weeks, etc. And my labor costs are still fixed in that situation because the jobs have a set budgeted man hours, and that's what the guys get paid for.
Yeah.
And so in order to compensate the guys, what we ended up doing in that situation is asking the customers if they wanted a surcharge to bag the grass, because I mean, the customer pays for everything. That's kind of our philosophy, and then it's the employees make money when we make money, and so if we weren't making any extra money on the job, if the customer didn't approve the surcharge for bagging, they didn't do it, and they didn't get hurt as much, the employees. And so we did try to take care of the employees by taking care of ourselves. It kind of works both ways.
Yeah, they're in it. They're in it together with us, and so they were actually trying to find ways to do work as well, and they're using their own brains to try to figure out, well, this job has really good drainage, so we can probably go and cut this one. This other one, are you kidding me? I'm not going to put my mower on there because we know they're going to complain, and we're just going to have to come back and fix it later on, put in sod or something like that. So again, it's up to them to think through the same problems that we've got. It's not up to us to think through all those problems. And so we sit there and brainstorm together and say, what can we do? Can we do a mulch job here? Can we do a cleanup? Can we do something else? So there's a couple of questions here, Jonathan, just point them out. In the spring, Dennis says in the spring they make less, slow growing they make more. Has that been an issue?
Fortunately, it has not been, and it comes a lot to how you're presenting this philosophy to your employees. And we've been fortunate to have employees that are able to take a longer-term perspective, and that's really the key, is to convince your guys that over the long haul, this is gonna pay out. So some companies will do a ratio, like they'll pay 1.3 times the budgeted man hours in the spring and then only pay 0.7 in the summer, something like that. That's a little bit more hassle than we want to deal with. And so what we preach to our guys is, yes, this spring sucks. It sucks for us too. And we're working a lot more and not getting paid anymore. And you guys are too. But when it comes to summertime, you guys are going to be out of that property in 7 or 8 minutes, whereas in the spring it was taking you half an hour. And so over the course of the season, as we know, we charge a certain price for a reason, because over the course of the season, that's the budgeted time. Like, we charge $40 for an hour. We're not saying that every time we're going to be on the property it's going to take an hour, but over the course of a season that's going to be the average. And so that's kind of the philosophy behind it that your employees need to understand, to have that longer-term perspective that over the course of the season this is going to balance out and I'm going to be better for it.
Which is the same perspective you have to have.
Exactly.
So you're back to the same thing. Now, Brian asks, is the rate you pay your men for piecework the same as you pay them for straight time?
We've evolved in that. When you're starting out, I definitely suggest having a different rate. So I usually suggest paying $1.50 to $2 more per hour. So if you guys are making $10 per hour at straight time, you can pay them $10 or $11.50 or $12 on piecework. And I'll tell you why you can do that: because their efficiency is going to increase. Like I said, the average company on straight hour time is at somewhere in the 60% range with efficiency. So if they're able to increase their efficiency 40%, you're only giving them a 20% pay increase if you raise them to $12 per hour. So you're making up for it with the efficiency that they're able to produce. So we do suggest it's a way to help the employees buy into the new program, if you will.
Yeah, I have a slide on that we'll get to in a little bit. My next slide, maybe I need to change back to presenter over here. My next, here we go. You should see it. Okay. My next slide is it legal? And there's a question about, in California, labor laws are pretty tight, etc. How do you do this? Well, obviously, neither Jonathan nor I are claiming to be lawyers. Yuck. And we don't, and we're not going to give you legal advice. You're going to have to go seek your own legal advice. But fairly recently, within the last couple of weeks, somebody sent me a question saying, I'm looking on the labor website trying to figure out whether I can do this or not, and I can't see anything about piecework or anything else. Well, the way you figure out how your particular state talks about it is go to the auto industry. Go look up how the labor affects auto industry, and try to fit yourself into that same thing, because that's all shops do it this way, and so there are exceptions in every labor law, in California included. Even in California, there are exceptions to this, and so you look through it. You're going to have to check your own. You're going to have to check your own labor laws and things like that. But yes, it is legal as far as we've been able to tell. In every place where it is, it's legal. Now, you do have to do a couple of things, and a couple of these have been mentioned in your questions. So you have to pay at least minimum wage. You can't pay less than minimum wage. So at the end of the day, you have to divide it out, and you have to say, okay, yes, this employee made at least minimum wage. You have to have a signed agreement. So that's part of your employee manual. is you have to have the signed agreement that say we agree to work under this system, this series of events. Exactly how it works out with overtime that's really fuzzy in all kinds of different ways. A lot of places, a lot of states, if you're paying piecework, overtime doesn't matter anymore. In other places, they have some calculations that you have to make, and this was your average pay, so the average overtime would have been this, and if you put in this much, so that's, again, this is some of the stuff that you're going to have to deal with and figure out for yourself. Can you do it? Yes. Is it worth it? Oh, by far. Just it's amazingly worth it. Don't let a little bit of this, don't let the government get in the way of you doing what is going to be best. So anyway, those are some of it. John asks, can employees ever find a way to cheat the system? Have you found that?
No, I haven't. I don't know. I mean, unless they're telling you they did work that they didn't do, I can't think of it. I haven't experienced any other way for the employees to cheat the system.
And how long will that work? I mean, if they say they're doing work that they're not doing, you've got the customer to check up. Do you want that? No, absolutely not. You don't want the customer to have to complain. But it's kind of self-managed because the customers are going to be there. And again, you're looking for a certain mentality. And we go to the next slide, which is, will all my employees quit? And as I have in there, maybe, yeah. It could be, you think about it, you've created a system right now. Let's say you're paying straight time with overtime, same as most other people. Well, you've created a system where people are comfortable with that. That's what they want to do. So they're okay with this antagonism between management and labor. They're okay with the idea that they can milk the clock, they can make time and a half if they can stretch the jobs out. And you've come to the point where you're okay with this as well, and you're going on that. What are the type of employees that we are looking for, Jonathan? For example, I mean, we've gone through a number of different employees. So what kind of employee are you looking for that will work in this system?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be someone who kind of values work in general. If someone's just trying to kind of sit around and get a paycheck, it's not going to work for them. And we've had to dismiss some of those employees that come in just kind of expecting to take it easy and not have to work very hard, as we say a lot of times, just breathe and hope to get paid for it. Those are the kind of employees that aren't going to stick around, and so we're looking for people that value work for itself, and then also are motivated to increase their income by working harder. If someone doesn't have that motivation, then they're not going to do well in this system.
How many times have we trained our competitor? And what I mean by that is, how many times have you gotten somebody in and you've taught them how to mow lawns, and they've just been your star performer, and they're just really good at everything. They can relate to the customers. They do good jobs. They're fast. They're productive. They're et cetera, and so forth. And they last a year, 2 years, 3 years with you, and then guess what they do? Is during the wintertime they quit, and by the next spring you see, Joe's Lawn Service is up there, and now he's your competitor. Mm-hmm. And I think that happens a lot. I mean, I've seen it happen a lot. So your best guys are the guys who they can make their own company. They can do their own thing. What you do with piecework is you say, you know what, don't worry about the paperwork. Don't worry about answering phones. Don't worry about all this kind of stuff, and run your business inside of my business. And you can basically have your business. I'm going to take care of your equipment. I'm going to take care of all these other things. And I want you to just stick around and make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so those are the guys that you're looking for. And that might not be who you have right now. It might not be. How do you present it? There's a question here that says, you have 6 to 10 new employees in a season. Tony is asking that. So how do you present this to them? How do we start out? Because we've had some hard times, the first month or so with guys. We had a couple guys that took off to Chicago one time. So explain that for us, Jonathan.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of what we've already talked about is that you have to present the philosophy behind it. You make money when we make money, and then one of the things that helps a lot is that the older employees, or the ones that have been with you longer, can really vouch for what you're saying, that it's true. And so you can have them talk to the new employees saying, this is how we do it, and believe me, by the end of the season, you're going to be really happy that you're doing it this way, because this is how much money I made last year, for example, and we can do this together. And so kind of getting your other employees to help in that process of introducing the new guys to the system really helps. And then I guess the other part of your question, Tony, is how would you recommend determining their starting pay rate? And it kind of depends on your area and what your business can afford, et cetera. We start our guys at $10 an hour, and then each year that they come back, and when they get certain achievements like a driver's license and things like that, we increase their pay incrementally. So I would recommend, for Piecework, kind of whatever your kind of average starting rate is for landscapers in your area, bump it up by $1.50 or $2, like I said, for Piecework. And one of the benefits of that is you're going to get people that would rather work, the hard workers would rather work for you than the competitor down the street.
Look at the screen that I just put up, and the third main bullet point says an example of $12 versus a 14-hour per credit or per man-hour if you're on Piecework. At $12 an hour, and I'm saying 75% productivity, which is high if you're paying by the hour, it's really costing you $16 to get a 1-hour job done. But if you said to the same employee, you said, I'm going to put you on Piecework and I'm going to pay you $14 an hour, well, he looks at that as being, wow, what a raise. But it's always going to be 100% productivity, so you're actually only paying $14 for that 1-hour job. It's actually you're actually paying him less, but it seems like you're paying him more. Now, where he makes money, and I'm not saying that this is great and you're going to be able to gyp somebody out or anything. No, not at all. But where he makes money is that 1-hour job. He can do it. He can figure out a better way to do it. He can do it in 45 minutes. Now he's got 25% above that, so he's making 25% more than $14 an hour, which is a quarter of that, so 4 times 4, so it's almost, he's making $18, $19 an hour. That's what he's taking home. That's what he's taking home and feeding his family with. And yet you're still only paying $14, whereas before you were paying $16. So you make more money, he makes more money, and the customer is happy. Question was, could they mow a lawn when it wasn't needed? And has that ever happened? You want to address that, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand the question exactly. Let me look at it one more time.
The question is, when a lawn doesn't need to be mowed, okay, now we're in August, right?
Yeah.
And a lawn doesn't need to be mowed, and the guy goes out there, he mows it anyway because he wants to make money. So he doesn't make the right decision.
Right. Well, I'll give you, with our company, how it works is that we put that onus on the customer. In the summertime when it's not growing, I don't want my guys to have to make a decision on every single lawn. So we tell our customers, if you would like to skip, that's fine, just let us know. And so unless the guys have instructions otherwise, they're to mow the lawn, trim it, whatever it needs. And our kind of clauses in our contract say as needed. So if there's a area of the yard that's completely dormant, sometimes they'll skip over it or whatever. But we put that onus on the customers because that's requiring a lot of the employees to have to make that decision on every property, because what happens if they make a decision and the customer calls and says, oh, I wanted you to cut it. Like, I've got a party this weekend. It grew half an inch and you should have cut it. So we put that responsibility on the customer, not on ourselves.
And part of it also is getting these guys to have a longer-term view of things. And they want to keep the customer happy. And I have those kind of conversations with these guys all the time. And I say, and they're telling me, they say, well, we know that this customer is picky about this, so but we make good money on it. So we want to make sure that this customer is happy, and we're going to do it this way because we know that that's what they want. And they want to know what the customer wants so that they can serve them better. Now, isn't that exactly what you want? It's back to this philosophy. There's question here, and I love the way you phrase it, James. It says, you guys are so confident about this system, would you go so far as to guarantee a good employee the same income as they made the previous year if they go Piecework? I would say yeah. And that's what I have. My first bullet point here is start with dual systems, hourly versus Piecework. What we have done in the past and what I've recommended and consulted with companies on doing is you start out and you say, we're going to run, okay, here's a harebrained, this is how you present it to your employees. Here's a harebrained idea that I got, and these guys are really confident about, and they say it works really well, and I've, you know, but I think they're kind of crazy, but we're going to try this, and this is what we're going to do, is for the next month, let's say, for the next month, we're going to track you, you're going to clock in, same as always. Clock in, clock out. But we're also going to be tracking this Piecework system. Let me tell you how it works, and blah, 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 blah. You explain it how it works. And then you say, and at the end of a pay period, let's say each week or every 2 weeks, or at the end of 2 weeks, I'm going to let you pick which one you want to make. Which money do you want to make? Do you want to make what you would have made off from Piecework, or do you want to make what you would have made off from hourly? You get what you're doing? You're telling the employee, you're not coming down hard and fast and saying, we're changing the way you get paid. You're going to have rebellion in the ranks. What you're saying is, you're saying, let's try this one on for size, and let's see what it looks like, and at the end of the time, whichever one is larger is what you're going to get. And I've seen this thing happen, and people are first, of course, the employees are skeptical of it because they think, you know, you've had this antagonistic relationship with them for how many years, and all of a sudden you're coming off as you're going to be the good guy. Well, you are the good guy in this case, but they don't know that, and they don't think that. So what you do is you present it to them, and you say, I'm going to pay you the greater of the two, whichever one is bigger. Whichever one is bigger, you get paid. And the guys, and then they're able to ease into it easily, and they're able to absorb it. They're able to see how it works. They're able to start to pay attention more to how long they're taking, and that's one way to do the transition. You can offer, like we said, larger wages under Piecework. So you could raise everybody. You could say, under Piecework, I'm going to pay you $2 more per hour than I will under the others. So those are things. You want to talk to that at all, Jonathan, or?
I think everything you said is, valid and good.
That's it, huh? All right. Yeah. So what about quality? What do you do, Jonathan, to keep the quality up?
Actually, if I can go back to a question real quick, in
Sure.
how do I implement it, there's been questions about time and material jobs, and for time and material jobs, we simply pay the guys their budgeted or their hourly rate, piecework rate, times the time that they spend on the property. Because it's another, you go back to the primary philosophy is they make money when you make money. And so the employee or the customer is paying you for every hour that you're there, so the customer or the employee gets paid for every hour that they're there. So that's with time and material jobs. That's simply how we handle it. And when you're doing a time and materials job, recording it in clip, it'll ask you, do you want to readjust the budgeted man hours? And you just click yes, and so it'll pay them that budgeted man hours.
And they know that they can't. Unfortunately, fortunately, our guys hate the time and material jobs because they know that they can't be any more than 100% efficient. That's all you can be, and that kind of locks them into, this is the most money you can make today because the sun comes up at this time and goes down at this time, so you can't do anything more. All right, so you want to talk about quality?
Yeah, sure. We can go on to quality. All right, so this is probably the most common objection we get to Piecework, is about quality and how do we manage quality, because obviously the guys are going to be motivated to be working fast, and there comes with that an inherent concern about, are they going to be doing a good job, are they going to be thorough enough to satisfy the customer if they're trying to go as fast as possible. And so there's a kind of a few different kind of aspects of how to manage quality in a Piecework system, and the first one goes back to kind of the employee situation and your team members, how you're selecting them, and if someone is just purely motivated by finances and by making money, it's going to be a challenge, quality. And so that's where I was talking about, it's important to have employees that value work for its work state and do have some kind of pride in their work. And that's not impossible to find. I think that a lot of people, if they're being paid fairly and stuff, are not going to give you trouble about spending the time necessary to make sure that the property looks good when they leave it. Okay, so that's kind of one. That's kind of the first level, is make sure that you have employees that actually care about their work. But there's still going to be, concerns about quality, and if they're trying to go fast, they may overlook something, etc. And so there's a few different ways that we have kind of tried to stop that or motivate them to continue to do a good job on these properties. One is that we make it clear that the expectation is for the property to look a certain way, and if it doesn't, if something was missed, like they missed trimming an area or the mowing looks sloppy or whatever, then we require them to go back on their own time to fix that. And that by itself, I mean, is a huge motivator, because if the property is 20 minutes away from the shop and they got to go there and spend 10 minutes there, that's almost an hour of their time that they've had to go and fix this property. So that's one motivator. The other is with a monthly bonus system. Is that at the beginning of the month, the guys have a clean slate, and they have, for example, $25. And any time that a complaint comes in against that crew or against that employee, they lose $5 of that bonus. Whatever's left at the end of the month, they get. And so that's another kind of motivating factor in helping them to keep their quality up. So those are kind of the primary ways that we have done and suggested managing quality within the Piecework system.
And it's worth it to manage the quality instead of managing your guys. I mean, it's so much less, so much less work to manage quality than it is all this management and try to motivate them, try to get them going, and all that kind of stuff. Going back a little bit, Ricky asks, how will that not backfire if we start in the spring? I'm talking about starting with a dual system where you have straight time and piecework. And granted that the spring is the very hardest time for this stuff to happen, for it to go. But again, if these productivity numbers are true, and if Jonathan is telling us that it's at 60%, if your productivity is at 60%, then you can offer a good amount more money to go to piecework for these guys, and I think they'll still make more money. It might not be as dramatic as the kind of stuff we're talking about, but they will make more money on piecework than they will on straight time if they start paying attention to it. Just the very idea that they start to pay attention to how long a job is supposed to take helps you. There was a question back to the same thing that we've already talked about, which is how do you come up with how much time a job is worth? It's divided by your man hours. You have to look at the other webinars that we've been doing. This is a whole system. It's not just piecework, but piecework fits into the whole man hours, and how do you figure out your man hours and your overhead recovery and all these things that we have been talking about. It's a lot of different aspects of the business, and this is one of them, and this is where we're concentrating. So you need to get those dollars per hour. You need to know what they are, and then from there you can figure out exactly how long you're supposed to do.
One more thing on that hourly versus piecework, kind of the dual system, is that set a time limit to it. Don't just say indefinitely this is what we're going to do, because otherwise there's not a lot of motivation on the employee's part. They say, oh, well, I'll just keep doing the pay or pay by hour because I don't really want to do the switch. So when I do recommend doing a dual system, I recommend setting a time limit, say 1 month from when we start this, we're going to switch 100% to piecework. And so that's going to get them starting to the wheels turning in their mind of how can we do these jobs faster.
Right. There's got to be some kind of sense of urgency. I love this part about it is we let our guys, even though they don't speak English, we let them do their own, bid their own jobs. And why do we do that is because they are your partners. They'll decide what they can do the job for, and the guys are constantly thinking about how to improve the productivity. So do you want to talk about that at all, Jonathan, or not really? It doesn't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the idea of the guys bidding the jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I trust my guys to bid on jobs that they're familiar with. So for mowing or whatever, if we're doing a kind of our marketing deal, as many of you know, is our $20 special, which is first time mowing for $20. And then after that, I'll see the times that the guys have done on the property, but then I'll also kind of consult with them, sometimes saying what should we bid this job for, and they're going to be honest about what they think the job should be bid for because of two reasons. One, they want to be paid fairly for the time that they're on the job, because then they're going to get paid directly as a result of what we charge the customer, and secondly, because they want more work, because the greater efficiency that they produce, the more work that I can add to their schedule. And so for every new job that they get, they're going to be able to add that onto their route and make more money by doing that job. So those two factors make them maybe the most accurate estimators.
Well, they are, because they're the ones that are going to end up doing it. Now, last couple days ago, when we did the whole Piecework presentation, I talked about how a business is just an organizing entity that sits between customers and employees, and what you're doing is you're trying to make your business smaller and get the employees closer to the customers so that they will make better decisions about that, and that's really all you're trying to do. I mean, that as a business, that's why you exist. And so letting the guys make these decisions and sell their services to to customers and to potential customers. Hey, they're the ones that want to get the neighbor. They're the ones that want to get the guy across the street. They're the ones that want to get a cluster of houses. Which brings up another question here. It says, what if you group all your jobs and the budget time is off, and so you raise them all and you lose your good ones? Well, that's Jim. What you need to do is you need to analyze each job separately, or your guys will do it for you. And they'll tell you, no, no, no. This one has a lot of toys in the background. First thing we have to do is go pick up all the toys, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be grouping all of your jobs. I don't know if you're speaking of a specific like street where you have 5 or 6 houses. That's one situation. But if you're just kind of for the ease of data entry, grouping all your jobs every day, that's not a good habit to get into. You want to put separate times for each individual job so that you can be accurate about price raises and things like that.
Now, we have a question about how comfortable are we with letting our employees know our numbers. Jonathan?
Yeah, we don't have much hesitation. Maybe we don't share owner salaries and things like that with our employees, but I don't care if they know how much the customer is being charged. I mean, I need their help in estimating them a lot of times. So we don't really have a problem with that because they know that they're being treated well. They understand that there's costs associated with doing the job than just their labor. And so it's this partnership thing that we've been talking about this whole time, is that we want our employees to feel comfortable with us and to understand what's going on in the company, and not just kind of as kind of robots doing the work, you know.
I usually have a conversation with any new employees, and I usually have them with the old employees as well, about the win-win-win situation, where we want them to make a lot of money. I want them to make a lot of money. We want us as a company, we want to make a lot of money, and we want to give the customer a service that they can't get anywhere else, and have them be happy with the service and happy with the price. And if you get those 3 things working together, then you've got a dynamo, and all you have to do is just keep doing it and do more of it. So, Jonathan, we're kind of out of time here, but I mean, some of this stuff this was a real quick overview and stuff like that. What kind of options do our customers have out there for let's say to get a hold of you or to get you to come out or something like that? Can you give us a little bit of your experiences and what you've done?
Yeah, sure. Well, first thing I wanted to point out is that, I mean, I know you guys like the live webinars, but there are other great webinars recorded on our website. And so if you go there, there are other webinars on employee motivation and things like that. So that's on our main website. Additionally, I regularly write the Clips Tips blog. You can access that right from the homepage of clip.com. It's in the top right-hand corner. It says blog, or you can get there directly. The URL is blog.clip.com. And there, if you do a search for Piecework in the right-hand side, you'll come up with various articles that I've written over the past 3 years on Piecework. And there were some questions that some people asked about marketing, unrelated to this topic, obviously. But if you have questions and wonder how we do things, I post most of everything that we do with Clip Lawn Care, our marketing materials, all that kind of stuff on the blog at clip.com. So that's one place that you can kind of get follow-up information and check it out. If you post comments, I'll respond to those. And then also, a lot of what I do during the winter when we're not doing the lawn care stuff around here is I travel and I help companies just like yours to improve your efficiency, and even doing something like implementing Piecework. I can talk to your employees about it, kind of give them the philosophy behind it. I speak Spanish fluently, so if you do have Hispanic employees that would like to implement this system with, that's a possibility as well. I'm also an expert at training with Clip, so any Clip questions that you have, I can help with that. So Be happy. If you want more information, just contact Bill in sales.
They can also hire you for like an hour of consulting or something like that as well, right?
Yeah, if you just want to talk over the phone for an hour or so, I just did that with the company last week, talking about Piecework. So that's not a
So
problem.
we're here to help you because what's our theme here at Clip Software is your success is our business. So thank you very much. This was a fun webinar. Jonathan, thanks for being here and helping us out with this thing. And I hope this at least spurred a lot of comments, and I hope it spurred a little bit of brain cells and thinking how you can improve your company for next year. Never heard of anybody going away from Piecework back to straight time, but I've heard of people that just thanked us over and over again for finally making the switch. So do it because it's really going to solve a lot of your headaches. So anyway, thank you very much. You guys have a great weekend, and remember that here at Clip Software, your success is our business.